Welcome everyone to episode 82 of Raw Sport. We have another banger in the house. We have some very interesting guests today. Of course, the man who joins me every single week, Mr. Rick Glaser. Ricky, how are you, buddy? What's happening?
Good, pal. Just waiting to get on the show and talk to, well, I'm going to call him at least an Australian legend, maybe a worldwide legend, especially in Africa, Mike Altamura.
Mikey,
Welcome aboard, Mike.
welcome to the show, my man.
I love the fact that you use the most dapper picture of me in that highlight, and then I roll on with the bucket hat.
Doesn't matter.
You can be a chameleon in this game, thankfully.
It's a first impression that counts.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing. All right. Lots to talk about legends. We've been talking off air for literally 12 minutes. So why not bring it on air? Mr. Rick, Mr. Mike, massive news drop today. Lots of news, like left, right, and center. Canelo Alvarez made the headlines on multiple fronts. We've got the fight with Jake Paul. Apparently, it's been confirmed. And we've got the fight with Crawford. We'll start with the fight with Jake Paul. It's, I believe, PBC and Canelo's group and MVP, which is Jake Paul's group. You've always got something to say about PBC, Rick. What are your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I don't call it Jake Paul fake Jake for nothing. So
Okay.
There's your answer right there.
Keep going.
It's going to be PBC's last stand. It's they're going to lose. They're losing to Amazon, and they're going to take a last shot at the Big Apple and fight that Big Apple, and they'll go out with a bang with some money, or maybe Amazon continues with them. I don't know. I can't see Amazon continue with it, but maybe they do. We'll see. It's a lot in store that first Saturday in May for PBC, no question. More at stake for PBC than Canelo or Jake Paul in reality.
Okay, let's go back a step. PBC, is this their way of recouping their losses? Staying with you, Rick.
I don't think you can recoup over $900 million in one fight. So no, but it would be a way for them to stay afloat for a little while, or try to get another TV or pay-per-view provider to come on with them, assuming that Amazon is going to drop them. Maybe Amazon does so well and they're so happy with this fight, they continue. I don't know that, but I do know that if they come out with another TV deal or some money out of the deal, they're a winner. So
Absolutely.
that's the way I'm looking at it.
Absolutely. Mike, your thoughts, mate?
What's the weight announced for that fight?
They haven't yet. Nobody's announced anything about the particulars.
So you've got to think it's probably 185 pounds, something like that, for Jake Paul to be able to make a weight. Maybe 180, something like that. I don't think it matters.
I would say even 190. He weighed 235 for his last fight.
He can be any weight. It's not going to help him. I think that, look, the fight with him and Tyson, fight in inverted commas, did insane numbers on Netflix. So I think we can't minimize the impact that this fight will have commercially. Whether that's a good thing or a negative thing, because it's going to be a disaster. It's an absolute mismatch. I don't think Canelo can carry him 5 or 6 rounds. It's not going to be that kind of deal. So I'm not sure how it's going to look. Is it going to be Mayweather-McGregor, or is it going to be worse? I don't know. But I think it's got the potential to flush out Jake Paul completely from anyone wanting to watch him box, especially if he gets chopped down. How would you expect him to get chopped down?
Really? I think it'll up his what's it called? It'll up his what's the word I'm looking for? Just gone blank.
His stock.
His stock.
It depends. It depends on how bad a mismatch it is.
Yeah, but he's not losing here because Canelo is the face of boxing. So whether he loses, doesn't matter. Who cares? He's the best, and he wins.
If he gets horribly exposed in like 2 rounds, there's still something to lose there. if Canelo can kind of, like, if it's like a Mayweather-McGregor job, a little bit of carry work from Canelo, gradually breaks him down, picks his shots, then yeah, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's a zany kind of matchup, not what we're expecting to see announced. Then, from like a purist perspective, I'm more interested in the Crawford Canelo fight.
I think though, if Canelo carries him, it's a bad look on his behalf, because
Agreed.
yeah. So
Agreed.
so there's more upside for Jake here than there is for Alvarez, other than the money side, obviously.
Yeah, but again, what upside? He's not going to be competitive.
We'll find out. Rick, is it good for boxing?
No, nothing that's a freak show is good for boxing.
Mike?
Yeah, I think I concur. I think it's eyeballs. I think really I'd say it depends on what's underneath it. If you look at the Tyson Jake Paul debacle, everybody laughed at the main event, but they were exposed to one of the best women's fights of all time in Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, the rematch. So
Yeah.
if there's something in it that can bring exposure to boxing in that regard, it's a slight win for the sport. But I do agree with Rick. I think that it would be great to see the mainstream public really amped up for a pure boxing fight rather than a freak show again.
Which the second announcement that was confirmed today was Crawford versus Canelo stadium fight at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the home of the Raiders. What are your thoughts, Rick, on the, first of all, location away from the T-Mobile?
Well, I know that I'm invited to the fight by Team Crawford. My wife and I, all he told us going to give us ringside tickets, but it might be more expensive to hire 8 bodyguards that I'll need to walk through that place for all the haters. But that being said, see, there's a problem for Canelo here with Jake Paul. If he carries him or lingers around for more than 2 rounds, it takes some of the zest off the Crawford fight.
Okay.
And I think he's got to get him out of there and make a statement real quick. If not, it looks bad. It'll hurt sales for the Crawford fight badly. You agree with that, Mike?
100% I agree with that. Yep.
Very, very good point.
See, great minds think alike. Just because mine's located in the United States and yours is in Australia, great minds think alike.
Well, there you go.
Let's see. The other counterpoint to that is a broken clock is correct twice a day too. So,
what are your thoughts, Mike? Big fight, big stadium.
I actually like Crawford in that fight. I think that a lot of people have gone super the side of Canelo, thinking that Crawford's going to be undersized, and also that he looked human against Madrimov, but Madrimov's got exceptionally fast feet, and I think that styles make fights, and I think that Canelo being a lot more flat-footed and plodding, it's going to give Crawford a chance to utilize his rhythm and his mobility. And even though he's going to be I think 38 years old when the fight rolls around, he's exceptionally well preserved for his age.
Yeah, he's not a drinker, smoker, late night guy. He's a family man. Let me run this by you. Go read my tweet. Read my tweet from just before I came on the air. Can you read it?
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Read about Canelo, about cashing in. Read that tweet.
All right. Let's bring up Rick's tweet. Canelo fighting Jake Paul. Canelo isn't cashing out, but he's going to beat Jake Paul. So that's actually called cashing in. But when Canelo fights Crawford in September, that's cashing out for Canelo, because Bud will spank that ass. That's the business of boxing.
Hey, we're on the same page again, Rick.
See? Yep. It's
So Rick, from a commercial perspective, does this fight break the million in terms of pay-per-views?
Which fight? Canelo and Jake Paul?
No, Canelo and Crawford.
Absolutely.
Mike?
Look, Rick knows the numbers better than I do.
Do you reckon there'll be 60,000 people there, Rick?
I'm sorry?
You reckon there'll be 60,000 people there, Rick?
Absolutely. Unless they overprice the tickets. If they don't overprice the tickets, they're fair.
Yeah, Turkey will not let that happen, from my understanding, because That's his whole motto moving forward. Is bringing down pay-per-view numbers, making it affordable. Sorry, bringing down pay-per-view prices, making it affordable, making the sport a lot more affordable all around.
If they're reasonably priced, the Alliance Stadium will sell out.
Do you think that there'll be some sort of boxing festivities that week around this major event? Do you think
1,000%?
Yeah, because I'm what I'm seeing here is in the past I've attended Mayweather's fights, and they used to have the boxing carnival when it first started on the same week. So from like Wednesday to Saturday, you were all booked out with boxing.
Well, there might be promote the fight. But those kind of people that watch those smaller shows, they're getting the pay-per-view no matter what.
Yeah.
They need to attract the general sports fan. The diehards are buying it or stealing it. The general sports fans need to purchase it, and you got to reach the general sports fan. And those shows are during that week do not reach the general sports fan. They're not big enough. So they need to be on talk shows on ESPN. They need to be on sports shows on Fox Sports. They need to be on late night shows, morning shows, Morning America, all those Good Morning America. They need to be on all those kind of shows to attract the general sports fan. Somebody's wife who's home says, "Oh, honey, this guy and this guy are fighting Saturday night. Let's get the pay-per-view." That's what they need to do.
Well, I personally think that first step in that direction is the partnership with the Raiders, because having a Allegiant Stadium NFL team, I think that there will be some sort of collaboration there.
Oh, absolutely, and they have a season ticket base and everything else. There's no question about that. But that's on site for ticket sales. We're talking about pay-per-view. The place is going to sell out if it's reasonable. There's no question about it in my mind.
Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge fight commercially. I think when you've got like Crawford's stock elevated so much out of that Spence bout, but it's not elevated on his own. Him versus Madrimov's not a huge attraction, but him versus the biggest superstar in the sport in Canelo, it's going to do enormous numbers. I think that you'll see that not only will it sell out, there'll be a high resale of tickets as well.
Mike, another thing about this show, because people have so much respect for Crawford, it's not a freak show, but it's a show that got so much intrigue because he's so much smaller in everybody's mind. But I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I like Crawford. He's got the best range and distance judging in all this whole sport, like Mayweather did. Okay? Yep. But here's the thing. His balance is so good that his balance will offset Canelo's physical strength when they get on the inside and start pushing around, because that's how that goes down. But balance can overcome strength. You know that, Mike.
Yeah, but Bud's strong in wrestling positions on the inside. He's exceptionally strong too. That's the other thing I think people are overlooking. Like he walks around, Ahmed. He walks around like 185 pounds. So it's not like he's needing to bulk up for this or that. He's a guy that walks around naturally heavy. At 68, he'd be a little bit undersized, but against Canelo, he won't be as undersized as people think.
Because Canelo's only 5'7". He's not fighting 6'3" David Benavidez here.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen him outside the ring, actually, at the ringside World Championships. He's pretty decent size. Like he's not.
Yeah.
He's not small and scrawny. That's
no. Sure. He's definitely not small and scrawny.
Yeah. And you know what? Another good thing about him, he's got a lot of time for those young kids, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I love the energy Bomac brings.
Absolutely.
I think his energy. I think Bomac's one of those guys. He's a lot smarter than you think he'd ever be, because he's only a journeyman fighter. Was 7 and 14, and the guy's a great trainer, and I really believe that his energy means a lot. Eddie Reynoso doesn't have energy. He's a great trainer. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have energy. He's not like a motivator. Do you agree with me there, Mike?
Yeah, and I think that the other thing is too, like Bud's got a great team. He's got he's got the team that complement him on the boxing side, that are good with all his conditioning work and so forth, and they all work in exceptionally well with each other. But Bomac's a great leader amongst that. He's actually a very, very calming influence in the corner, very on point. And I agree with Rick. I think that he'll definitely have Bud, not that Bud needs it, but he'll have Bud exceptionally motivated to go out and shock the odds and make history again.
You men have both seen huge fights in your time. You've been a part of huge fights, right? These are both exceptionally talented fighters on both ends, okay? And then usually when it comes to these massive fights, massive events, it's the 1%ers that get them through. What do you guys think will be the decisive factor in this fight either way? Starting with you, Rick.
I think Bud Crawford is superior on his feet compared to Canelo. Way more nimble, agile, can move around better on his feet, and I also think the agility on the inside to move around and hold, push off, that range and distance, that range and distance thing that he's got over Canelo. Those are going to be big factors in the fight. Huge.
Mikey?
Yeah, timing and speed. I think more the footwork, the ring mobility, and the timing. I think that Canelo has a low punch volume, and I think that that's going to be suitable to how Terence Crawford will want to fight him. I thought the Madrimov did exceptionally well in forcing Crawford to try and punch with him and then use his feet, change the rhythm, change his time, and move his head well. Canelo brings a much slower cadence to his work, and I think that suits Crawford's style better.
Yeah, another thing is Madrimov jumped jumped around, and was like he looked like a kangaroo in there. Canelo doesn't fight that way. He's more conventional and easy to figure out. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure him out.
Yeah.
There you go. One man who has been on Canelo's case for a very long time, David Benavidez, fought on the weekend. He fought a young David Morrell. It was reported about 12,000 people packed out the T-Mobile arena. And some people say some vulnerabilities were shown during the fight. Benavidez put it on, came forward, brought the action. He was knocked down apparently. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the fight, both of you. Starting with you, Rick. Let's stay objective.
I thought he got hit way too much. It looked like he didn't even know how to spell the word defense. After the fight, he facially looked like the big loser instead of the big winner. That's not a good sign. He was knocked down because he was off balance. Don't get me wrong, but he still hit the deck. His footwork is atrocious, and I don't think his punching power has the effect at 75 that he had at 68. And I also don't think he's got that punching power that everybody thinks he has. I think he's a good puncher, but he's not a great puncher. Because if he was a great puncher, he would have got the guy out of there. And that's number one. Number two is the face looked like it was brutally marked up. Like I said, that's not a good sign. The defense was non-existent. And I think that if he gets in with Bivol, who's got a super high ring IQ, and David does not have a high ring IQ, I think Bivol boxes circles around him. And if he gets in with Beterbiev is so strong and such an accurate power puncher, I think, and David gets hit with everything. I think he gets him out of there.
Mikey?
So I don't think he beats either guy.
Mikey?
I agree with the two assessments of how those two fights will play out with Rick. Not as harsh on Benavidez' performance. I thought he showed a lot of grit. Think that, was it the third round? Morrell hurt him with a left hand down the center, right near the bell. And what I give the intangible that Benavidez has, and I agree with what Rick said. Obviously, if he's going to fight Bivol, if he's going to fight Beterbiev, I see people saying, is he fringe pound for pound? No. You can't have three light heavyweights in the pound for pound rankings. That's not how boxing should work. He has to earn that spot. But I think that if he doesn't fix up that squaring up, especially when he's trying to close range and falling over his feet and punching 4, 5, 6 punches at a time, he's going to pay a price against both of those guys for a reason. That said, the intangibles I like about the kid is he can get rattled, he can get hurt, and he keeps coming and coming and coming. So he's one of those kids that's going to keep on presenting volume and keep throwing until you give him a reason to go away. But I just think that at light heavyweight, he's finding his ceiling where he can't just walk through and outmuscle guys. And I do agree with Rick saying that I don't think he's ever been a concussive one-punch knockout artist. He's a volume guy that swarms and overwhelms guys with physicality. And I just think that little bit of lack of quality about his work, like I said, like Morale's a very good fighter. He was an exceptionally good amateur, good timing, but it's a different ask going from Morale and Plant and these guys to Bivol and Berterbiev. And I just don't think he can make that jump in class with what we're seeing of him. You got to remember, everyone says a young kid. He turned pro at 18 years of age. He's now like 10 years into his pro journey. He's formed. What he is what he is. That's what he's going to be. He's not going to evolve from here.
Do you think David Morrell got into his head? Because he was acting rather strange this final. He was going off on tangents, swearing he's going to kill him, blah, 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 blah. Or was that just selling the fight? Started with you, Rick, objectively.
I don't think that was selling the fight. I think he was getting pissed off because he was getting overlooked in his mind that so many people thought Morrell was going to win. A lot of people thought Morrell was going to win. I didn't see it that way, and I'm sure an experienced boxing guy like Mike didn't see it that way. I figured that Morrell knocked out so many guys, stiff so quick. He didn't learn how to go down the stretch in a grueling fight and the tricks of the trade. And when you fight a real good fighter like a David Benavidez, and that's basically what happened in the fight.
Yeah.
And I just think that between Louis DeCuba Sr. and David Morrell, they got under his skin a little bit. I know they didn't get under his skin from Ronnie Shields because he don't say shit.
Yeah, I do agree, Ahmed. I think they were able to trigger him a bit, but at the end of the day, if they did trigger him, the fight was more fought on Benavidez's terms. I thought that early Morrell would try a pot shot and use his legs a little bit. He was trying to punch with Benavidez at volume, and it wore him out a bit. I thought that Morrell got worn out a little bit in the early rounds, and then he found the late round surge. But if you look at really those middle rounds, he was just trying to pick his spots. He wasn't able to go with the sheer volume of Benavidez because he was a bit leg weary.
Absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. Okay. Benavidez, after the fight, asked him, who would you choose between Bivol or Beterbiev? He goes, just to quote him, I would pick Bivol because he beat Canelo, and when I beat him, it means I'm better than Canelo. So what are your thoughts on those comments?
No. The translation is Bivol can't punch like Beterbiev. He's a boxer. And the worst I'll do is lose a decision. If I lose, the other guy could take my head off. I could be sprawled out like an eagle. That's the translation to that. Right, Mike?
100%. Why didn't he go with the philosophy that Beterbiev beat on the cards, Bivol the first time? And if he beat him twice, then he beat a guy that twice beat Canelo, and he beat the guy that twice beat the Conqueror Canelo. It's just foolish linguistics and wishful thinking that he gets the guy that's a non-puncher because it's a better fight for him.
Absolutely. All right. Now, we're going to move away a bit from...
I just want to say one thing. I'll finish up about Beterbiev. So I use a sparring partner that's a heavyweight, and he actually sparred with Beterbiev without mentioning his name. I don't want to be embarrassed, the guy. He says, Rick, I'm known for my physical strength. He said, this guy was pushing me around like I was nothing. So and this guy's a 240-pound heavyweight.
Did you see those video clips of him training that Top Rank put up this morning, I think? Either this morning or yesterday. He's throwing around the 50-kilo dumbbell like it's just nothing. The guy's got unbelievable strength. But anyway, we'll keep going. We're going to move on. In a way, the Japanese monster, right? This is more towards you, Mikey. His last two opponents have been your boys. How have you found your way through the cracks and managed to get these opponents last minute and being the man that these Japanese monsters come to?
Sam Goodman keeps dropping the bag, man. That's a reality. Like a lot of people don't know, they intentionally scheduled the fight with the Thai in July so they wouldn't fight Inoue in September. They wanted to wait till December. So that's what put TJ in the wheelhouse to land that fight. Then they blew the date in December.
Yeah.
And that was the so I think that happened on the 14th. Mr. Honda come to our show in Osaka. We had Ryosuke Nishida defending the IBF Bantamweight World title in Osaka. Co-promotion with Tekken Promotions, Mr. Honda. He come to Osaka. At breakfast, I floated the idea to him. I said, look, I've got my Korean kid. He's ranked in the WBO. Like you did at the Tokyo Dome show with Neri, you knew you need an insurance policy just in case he misses the weight. Maybe he pulls out of the fight, gets injured. It's a big show, big audience, all of it. They had TJ as the reserve. So I said, why don't you put my Korean as the reserve? You don't have to pay us a big purse. That way, at least, you don't have to cancel the fight twice. You might not find a venue, blah, 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 blah. I swear to you, Ahmed, he stonewalled me in the meeting. He was just like, okay. And it was like a moving on. I was like, well, that went down like a lead balloon. I gave it a crack. But I told my team, stay ready. We're going to schedule a fight in late January. My months are getting to go misses. Late January, regardless.
Yeah.
And just keep the wheel spinning. So Jun stayed in training. 8 days later, December 23rd, I get a call off Mr. Honda. Korean weight okay? I was like, yeah, he's on point. Don't worry, he'll be okay. And then he goes, okay, I want to put him on 8-rounder. You pick the opponent. Filipino or Thai. We'll put him on the undercard, 8 rounds. If something happens with Sam Goodman, he's in. Now, my way of thinking, I can claim I got mystical powers, but my way of thinking was I put my guy in the mix for another big fight, regardless. If something happens with Goodman, I was thinking maybe the cut doesn't heal or something. I wasn't expecting him to get recut in sparring. But then we get 13 days out, and I'm thinking, all right, we're locked in. We're fighting Kenny Demasio. It's cool. And it's 2:03 in the morning in Kenya, and I get a call from Mr. Honda explaining to me that somehow, some way, despite the fact he was told that Goodman wouldn't be sparring, he managed to get cut again.
Wow.
And my whole thinking was, because I'd only slept 5 minutes, and I'm trying to cognitively figure out if I'm in a dream or it's actually reality or what I'm dealing with. I'm trying to think, what's the process of this call? What's actually happening? And then he's asked me again, is the Korean boxer's weight okay? I was like, yeah, why? Is the event still going to proceed? I thought they might have just canceled the event. He goes, yes, we will go with your boxer.
Wow.
And then that started, essentially in 13 days, we packed in basically 8 weeks of work, from PR campaigns to the rest of the camp to finalizing visas and everything. And it was surreal. I mean, Inoue is a generational talent. I think for anyone, you see people that keep saying he's fought handpicked guys. I mean, look at Fulton. Fulton's just come back and won another world title on the weekend. We're in Timberlands of all things, but
that was pretty cool.
That's another discussion point. Yeah. But Inoue is such an outstanding talent. So to have the privilege to be in the other corner twice, I was saying to my friend Sean Gibbons, because I think Sean's 0-5 against him. I'm 0-2 against him. I said, bro, let's go 0-8 together if we can get the next guy against him. When you lose to Inoue, everyone wins. Everyone gets paid.
100%.
So, and it's a huge opportunity. You're challenging yourself against the best in the world. But the one thing I see, and this is probably what Rick sees with Bud Crawford, is it just feels like he has additional time to other guys in the ring. Just split decision movements and steps, and like watching him from the corner, his guard's ever shifting. I know people say he lets himself get hit and that, but if you watch, he's always kind of catching and rolling with those shots, and he's always in position that if you miss, he's ready to poleaxe you. So anyone that has a knockout puncher's mentality, you look at the best of all time, from Aguayo to Zarate, Ruben Olivares, all these guys, they all get hit because they're all in position to take you out if you miss. And I think that's the best quality Inoue has. He's got no fear of being touched in order to touch you and to spark you.
Rick, I'm about to give you some ammo. 1 sec. Did you say he was not meant to be sparring during that period after they rescheduled the fight? Mikey?
Correct. Yeah, I thought you're talking to Rick. Yes, no, correct. I'm only relaying what the Japanese told me. The Japanese told me that they were assured there'd be a 4-week delay and that all protection will be taken to ensure that Goodman wouldn't be recut, including no sparring.
By No Limit and the team.
That is my understanding. Hence why Hence why Goodman and Camp are persona non grata in Japan right now. Hopefully that changes. I actually like Sam and the team, but you can understand why if we hadn't placed the South Korean on reserve, that's 2 shows that would have been cancelled. That's maybe $4 million they would have lost out on booking venues, flights.
How many people
everything.
watched the fight? You know the numbers?
Not sure on the numbers, but in the arena were like 11,500 people.
Wow, Rick, another blunder by no limit. What's your take on that?
I guess he was sparring, and he shouldn't have been. I mean, it was a month apart. Why spar if you're not going to win anyway? You're going to go in for a payday. You fucked the bag up.
What was the bag?
That's all there was to it.
What was actually agreed on? Is that public information or?
Not on our side. Our side was considerably less than what Goodman's was.
What Goodman was meant to be.
The number that's been reported is around the 1 million mark.
Jeez, he's never going to see that again.
So I mean, look, it's deflating on their side. And I have a good working relationship with No Limit, so I'm not going to dig the boot into them. I think that from the camp of the fighter, there's a bit of a lack of awareness.
That's the same. Well, excuse me. That's the same operation that didn't have a rematch clause for Tim Zhu versus Pandora. Those people, those fucking morons.
I'm staying out of this conversation. But what I will say,
Wait, they got the champ at 2 weeks' notice, 3 weeks' notice. They take a guy 6'3", 6'5" that's left-handed, and they don't get a rematch clause. They are brilliant people. Glenn Jennings and the 2 rosebuds there.
Let's stay objective.
You're trying to ensure that my fighters never get a slot.
I am objective.
No, look, I get along with the boys.
No, Mike's
well.
Mike,
I see a lot of very positive aspects of the operations, and I think this one's not on them. I think this one.
I've done a great job.
Rematch clauses wasn't one of them, right, Mike?
I'm staying out of that conversation. This particular fight, what I will say is, if you're going to keep sparring, don't give that assurance. I understand the process of wanting to win and everything, but I don't think they comprehended how damaging these kind of things are with the Japanese. The Japanese are like, thankfully on my end, and I said this, like Mr. Honda said at the presser, like I arrive and all the journalists say to me at the presser, Mr. Honda told us you rescued the show.
Wow.
And I was thinking, that's beautiful praise, but if my fucking guy misses weight, I'm going to take a bullet with the same force that goodness was delivered. And that's the way it is in Japan. Like look at the suspensions that are handed out when guys miss weight. So to have not one cancellation is understandable, cut in sparring. If you give you assurance you're going to be there 4 weeks later and they go book the venue, readjust TV sponsors, the whole card fell apart from the initial show because of that. Go secure new fights. And then you do that, how would they ever trust to place you back there again?
Mike, I'm going to tell you the flip side to this whole thing. You're 1,000% right, and I'm disagreeing with nothing you said. You're a pro. You're a great boxing guy, and I will tell you you're right. But here's the flip side. The flip side is if Inouye moves up now, this guy's going to end up fighting for the vacant title more than likely against somebody he's probably going to be able to beat, and all of a sudden, Sam Goodman's a world champion, which he would have never fought then if he would have fought Inouye. No. So the flip side is it may not be so. The cloud may not be so dark. They may be looking at the world through rose-colored glasses.
And I agree. And the other thing is that you got to look at too is that just because you have a little bit of misfortune with cuts and everything, it doesn't take away your quality as a fighter. The kid's still a very talented, very skilled young boxer. He's still got many prime years ahead of him, and look, it's not a Barry Bonds home run they're going to hit, but they might be able to bunt and bat their way to home plate gradually, bit by bit, over 3 or 4 fights and make the same amount of money they would in that one night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there. Thank you. Yep.
All right. Keep going, boys. Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero announced for the WBA 147 title. What do you boys think of that? Is that just another one of
this one? Rick's going to have more positives to say on me. Look, I like Ryan Garcia, but is this what boxing's coming to? The guys test positive and they get rewarded with world title fights straight out of it.
Rick, what do you got for us?
I think it's a gross mismatch. I think that Ryan knocks him stiff, deader than a doornail early, like, just like 1 or 2, 3 rounds at the most. Just gets him out of there.
But the fact he's been rewarded the title, he just come off his bloody suspension. I mean, how does that play?
Mike voiced my opinion from his mouth. He just it's not what I thought.
There you go.
It's boxing. It's boxing. Money talks, bro.
Right.
We have Derek Chisora fighting Otto Wallen this weekend. You guys got any thoughts on the fight? I mean, War Chisora's always got something.
I don't think anybody's excited about that fight unless they have a financial interest.
Yeah, I think so. I think stylistically, Chisora's always in entertaining fights. I just don't know if that fight. I don't know if that fight stylistically is made for him to be exciting. That's the only thing.
The South.
Mike, how old are you? Mike, how old are you?
Too old these days, man. I just turned 41. I'm getting a bit prehistoric in the game.
I think Chisora is older than you are.
That's okay. It gives me a bit of hope.
See?
All right.
I'm sick. I'm almost 67 in April. I'll be 67.
That means that Luis Ortiz is your age.
Yeah, and apparently he's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read that.
Which is insane. All right. One last one. Mayweather's little protege, Kermel Morton, fought on the weekend as well. Any thoughts of where this kid's going, his performance? It's still a bit early against this sort of fighters, but I mean, this is what you guys do anyway. What do you think, Rick? Stay objective, Rick. It's PBC, but we have to stay objective.
Well, I thought I was impressed. A lot of people are calling him an up and comer, but I don't really know anything about his sex life.
How do I follow that? Look, some good attributes. Strong kid. I thought he got hit a little bit too much. Maybe he's just comfortable against this level of opposition that he's letting them punch and looking to land his counters. But I would have liked to see just a bit more head movement, a bit more mobility and defensive craft because it's within his repertoire. He's a young kid. He's getting better. I don't know if he's going to be the next Gervonta or if he's going to be the next Hyland Williams. We'll find out. Only time will tell that.
That's a great line. Thank you. But Hyland Williams couldn't punch. At least that's
punch. True. But you remember all the buzz he had out of the amateurs, and then it was just like we were waiting for the penny to drop. There was some glints of good performances, and it just never dropped. But I like the kid. I like his character. I just watched an interview with him yesterday. He speaks really well. He's polished. Seems like a polite kid. Got a bit of that cocky swagger, but that's what's attractive to the Gen Y audience.
I think this is a weird thing to say, but the kid's got a little bit of class to him for a young kid.
Yeah, he speaks well.
Don't you?
He speaks well.
That's what I think.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. What a show we have had today. It's been we've had some ups and downs, but it was a big weekend in boxing and big news today. So we had to, bring all flavors. So Mr. Rick Glaser, once again, thank you very much, sir. Thank you,
Mike. Thanks. Look forward to having you on again. You're more than a great guest. You're part of the family here at Raw Sports.
Pleasure talking with you guys. Always great chatting with you, Ahmed. You bring the hard-hitting questions. This is John Law's style for people who know John Law, so I appreciate it.
Rick's gone already. All right, boys.
He left us.